Hi, welcome to the webinar. I'm just letting people know who are joining that this is being recorded. So as you welcome yourselves into the meeting and greet, you can keep your video and audio off. Just to let everybody know, again, this is being recorded. I'll give it just about another minute and then we'll get started. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started just to keep the session running on time. Welcome to the NC Space Grants MSI Scholarship virtual session. Again, for those of you who are either joining us by video or on the telephone, this session is being recorded. You can exit the meeting if you don't agree to that, or of course you may either turn off your camera, mute your microphone, or change your name setting. But again, this session is being recorded just so that you are aware. So I want to start by giving everybody a little bit of a background of who we are and what we do so that you can understand a little bit more about the intention and purpose of these scholarships. NC Space Grant is part of the National Space Grant College and Fellowship Program. We are a national program. There is a space grant in every state, as well as DC, Puerto Rico, Guam, and the US Virgin Islands. Except that here in North Carolina, we tailor our program to the needs of what's happening here in our own state. And our population of our scholars and faculty should thereby be representative of our state. In addition to NASA, we partner with the state of North Carolina. Our offices are based out of the generosity of NC State University, and we also have additional industry partners, as well as museums and nonprofits, and just a whole great group of people who are equally passionate as we are about all things space. So on that note, I'm assuming that you're on this call because like us, we think that the stuff that NASA's doing in space, generally speaking, is just really cool stuff. And if you are inspired by it, as we are, we want to do that to encourage you to continue on in your education in a STEM field, hopefully go on to work in a STEM-related profession. And we do that by training you either through scholarships and fellowships, or being part of a team, or helping out with internships. There's just a whole bunch of things that we can do to help you get ready to be a really part of a diverse talent pool as part of the next generation workforce. In brief, when people ask me what we do, of course, I always like to say we make astronauts. And in fact, there are 2 former scholars here in North Carolina that are now astronauts. You may have seen a lot in the news in recent years. Astronaut Christina Cook, who was an engineering undergrad and grad out of NC State. She was part of the first all-female spacewalk team, and she is now the longest female with continuous presence at the International Space Station. So she got her start right here at North Carolina Space Grant. And then about 2 years ago, astronaut Zena Cardman, a biology, geology kind of science student out of UNC Chapel Hill, got named to her class of astronauts. And we are hoping that she may be one of the first, if not one of the first females on the moon. If not, she's going to be integral to the study of what happens if and when we should get to Mars. So there are students from our own backyard as part of our program who have gone on to become astronauts, which is pretty cool. But we know that not everybody is going to go on to become an astronaut. And in fact, you may or may not go on and work for NASA. But again, we want to get you ready to contribute to our national economy somewhere in STEM, meaning science, engineering, technology, and mathematics. So we want to get you ready to be a contributing member in those fields. And we do this through a couple different mechanisms. You're on this call today because we're going to be talking about the MSI STEM scholarships. MSI, for those of you that don't know, is just a short acronym for a minority serving institution, which also includes HBCUs, so historically Black colleges and universities. So these opportunities are those that fall under our fellowships and scholarships category. We also support team competitions. So those of you who may not be seeking individual opportunities, those of you that are looking to be part of a team and learn what it means to be part of a team, or maybe a leader in a team, we also support team competitions. And we also work with NASA and private sector partners to place internships at the NASA centers around the country, as well as with various industry partners. And generally speaking, I added this little bit in the corner because I like to always say that you never know until you try. So I'm assuming that those of you that are on this webinar today and out there in phone land are willing to put yourself out there and try, because in fact, you never know. Of course, we're always looking to recruit the best and brightest. Of course, I'm sure that's why you're all on the call. But a lot of students surprise themselves and as they express their passions and their desire to work in a space-related field. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit more today about how you can do that as part of your application. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of background first about kind of who we are, what we do, and what our intentions are. So specifically today, I wanted to talk to you about the currently open opportunities. The top one, of course, listed is the MSI, or Minority Serving Institutions STEM Pathways Scholarship Program. The second one is, again, the MSI STEM Bridge Scholarship program. And I'm going to go over in detail the differences between these because I know the names are very similar. And then also right now we do have open the Team Experience and Competition Grant, which I mentioned on the previous page. I'm going to mention this last bit like a lot. Applications are due Monday, October 11th at 6 p.m. and letters of recommendation, and we'll talk about all of these things, are due October 13th. So you are very wise to have been on this call today so that you can start learning about how to put forth your best application. So you have just under a month, but I really don't want you to miss those deadlines or feel pressed when you're writing your application, and we're going to talk about why. So again, I congratulate those of you who have taken the initiative to be on this webinar and on the call, because you're going to learn a lot of juicy information about how to make your application really strong. So let's go ahead and dive into some of this stuff. I know there's a lot of text here, but I want to make sure that we're answering what I typically get as questions. So here's where I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the difference between MSI STEM Pathways and MSI STEM Bridge. So a major difference between them is who is eligible to apply. So Pathways, we're really targeting early students, and that could be from some of the targeted community colleges, first or second year, or early undergrads, which we consider freshmen, sophomores, or even juniors, because we know there are some community college students who have just transferred over, and we know there are also some juniors who are just starting to declare their majors. So we're considering for this opportunity early undergraduates who are freshmen, sophomore, and juniors. And so, whereas you see for the MSI Bridge, we are considering still undergraduates, but a little bit more upperclassmen, so to speak, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. So when you're looking at what category you fit in and who you are, like let's say you're a sophomore, junior, and eligible for both, I'm hoping that what I talked to you about today may help you decide which one is the better fit for you. So one way to determine that is that for the pathways, we're targeting earlier students who are just kind of figuring out their pathway, their academic pathway. You know, you may be interested in pursuing a STEM degree, but you're still kind of like figuring it out and you're not sure, do I want to do biology, geology? You know, do I want to do mechanical engineering, electrical engineering? Do I want to do engineering? So we're hoping to like target you early on to help you figure out maybe what your pathway is. For those on the bridge side, you kind of, you know, you're pursuing STEM, you have a pretty good idea of what you want to do. And we're going to help you dig a little bit deeper to maybe define the research that you want to study a little bit more. So let's say you're really into engineering, you don't know if you want to do mechanical or electrical. So maybe this opportunity gives you a chance to do a little bit more digging to decide which one might be the right fit for you. So both, basically, we're giving you the opportunity to learn a little bit more about yourself and what interests you have and what passions you want to pursue. So you'll notice that in terms of the targeted universities, one list is a little bit longer than the other. So let me explain where this list comes from. So you must be a full-time student at one of these targeted institutions in order to apply. We get this list directly from NASA's MSI exchange. So we don't generate this list. We get it from NASA. If you don't see your institution on this list, reach out to me or reach out to your faculty member and like, let's make sure we get your institution on this list. But for now, you will see that under pathways, the list is just slightly longer. And again, that's because we've got a couple of those community colleges in there for the pathways. Whereas for Bridge, it's the 4-year institutions only. The MSI STEM Pathways, you have the opportunity to win or earn one scholarship, and that's because it's just your chance to poke around and learn. Once you've gotten there, we expect you to kind of go forward into the Bridge Scholarship. Now, we do allow students to receive up to 2 STEM Bridge Scholarships. And because we understand that sometimes research changes, sometimes majors change. So the pathways, you can only receive 1. Bridge, you can receive up to 2 as you're kind of still redefining your research. So we can get into that a little bit more too. And again, at the end, I'm happy to answer questions. For both, a minimum 2.8 GPA is desired. NASA typically has a 3.0 GPA for a lot of their opportunities, but we understand, especially for the pathways, that some students are just starting out and finding their footing. I know last year, especially with COVID and being off campus, it was a little bit of a struggle to find some footing academically for some students. So we built in a little bit of wiggle room for you. And hopefully with this scholarship and getting you to focus on your studies, some folks will be able to bring up that GPA a little bit to move on to other opportunities, either with space grant or with that 3.0, really be eligible for some opportunities with NASA. For all opportunities funded by NASA, it is funded with US taxpayer dollars. Therefore, you must be a United States citizen. Green card holders, unfortunately, are not eligible to apply. You must be a full US citizen. And if any students have any questions about that, I'm happy to answer that at the end. Again, not our rule. NASA, again, it's funded by Congress with taxpayer dollars. So we've got to make sure that we're supporting US citizens. Okay, applications and instructions. I'm going to get to some really nitty-gritty tips moving forward, but I do want to go over the application instructions. And this is really important stuff that will make you feel more confident in your ability to apply, as well as make sure that you put the strongest application forward that you can. First of all the details are listed in the RFP. As well as a sample application that's online, and I'll show you that literally in a few minutes. So there is an online application system, and there's details in the application. So that's anything from your name to date of birth, to your address, to your major, to your institution. It's a couple fields that you have to fill in, like in a typical online form. So we want to make sure that, you know, the day that you go to fill out this application, you make sure that you have enough time to fill out the fields. And we'll go over that moving forward. Transcript. We are asking you for your transcript. That's an academic transcript from at least your last previous semester. So for example, it would be the spring semester of last year. Now, if you are a Pathways student and you're coming out of high school into your studies as a freshman or into a community college or at a community college, your high school transcript is acceptable if it is your most recent transcript. Otherwise, if you like a second year community college, or you know, if you're a sophomore, then we would want your first year community college transcript, or we would want to see, like, if you're a sophomore, your last full semester freshman transcript. So your most recent transcript. It should be official. If you can only get it unofficial at this time, we'll ask you for an official later. But since you're on this call and you know it, you have plenty of time, so you are in good shape. There are short essays. And when I say short essays, I mean short essays. There's a word limit. It's about 300 words. These are not pages and pages and pages. About 300 words will take you like a paragraph or two. These aren't long essays at all. So when you see that they are short essays, I don't want you to panic. It's your opportunity to really tell us a little bit more about you, but they're not even as long or as complicated as like when you applied for college. So when you see that there's essays, don't panic. These are really short. If you just do a word count on a document up to about 300 words, you'll see that it's not that intimidating. And finally, there's a letter of recommendation. Again, if you're a Pathways scholar. You can get it from, if you're just starting as a freshman or community college, getting it from somebody who may be from your high school is fine. We also know that for freshmen last year, again, with COVID, it was really complicated to maybe cultivate a relationship with a faculty member. So if you are applying on the pathway side, you may submit a letter of recommendation from just someone who knows you really well. And that can speak to the purpose of this scholarship. So, not a family member, not a friend, somebody that can say that you're a really hard worker, or that, you're really dedicated to your studies, someone that's a former employer or an educator. The MSI STEM Bridge, because you are sophomores, juniors, and seniors, by now you should have taken a class or two for which you can have some kind of faculty member or academic advisor submit that letter to you. So make sure that you follow these application instructions and know that all of these things are expected of you, and make sure that you allot the amount of time necessary to do this. And again, you guys are all really smart for being on this call. You've got just under a month to get this all done. And moving forward, hang in there. I'm going to give you some really precise tips about how to do this. I see there's something in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and check the chat at the end so that we can kind of keep this flow going. And there's a good chance that I may answer your question. So let's just hang in there on the chat, and we'll just kind of keep plowing through if that's all right. Okay, so evaluation criteria. Right here, we're literally telling you where you're going to score your points. This has also been updated on the website. So make sure you go and look there. So I'm going to walk you through this. And again, this gives you the opportunity to know where best to spend your energy, to know where you can score the most points, the maximum points upon which your application will be evaluated. Both equal 100 points. Keep the math simple. So both will have academic merit. So, have you met the GPA requirement or exceeded it? Is the coursework that you've been doing in a STEM related field? Meaning, are you either on that pathway, or are you ready to do that research by demonstrating that you're kind of already studying this stuff? And again, we understand that some of the freshmen or early community college students may not have the full STEM coursework, but again, that's why we're looking at your GPA, and then we're going to give you a chance to talk about yourselves a little bit more on the essay questions. So both the Pathways and the Bridge have essay questions. Pathways has 4, Bridge has 6, and the reason is this. Pathways is a $3,000 scholarship, and you're just getting kicked off. So we're not going to dig too deeply. We're not going to burden you too much. Bridge, that's a $5,000 scholarship, and we really want to learn more about you. So there are 6 essay questions, but when I tell you 4 or 6, again, don't panic. These are only 300-word essays. That's it's like a paragraph or 2. So don't panic. In fact, the opposite, have fun. This is a chance to tell us about you, to get to know you a little bit better, for you to shine in terms of what your interests and passions are. So tell us about yourself. So just to go through some of the questions as examples. So, we're going to ask you about kind of what you're interested in and why you're deciding to study it. So, it may be, I used to work with my grandfather preparing tractors out at the farm, and I just decided that I like to take things apart and put things together. So I want to go on and study engineering. Obviously in a little bit more detail, but something like that. Or, I always was fascinated by biology. I'm really interested in how gravity affects astronauts. And so I want to kind of poke around that field a little bit. So, your essays give you a chance to kind of explain a little bit more about yourself and what interests you. And a really important one that will kind of earn a lot of points is how do you feel this scholarship will impact your academic pathway or future career? And that's important because I want to let you know that saying having this money will help me not have to get a job. And that's important. We want to hear that. We want to hear how this will impact you, but we also want to hear like, I think I want to do science, but I don't know if I want to do chemistry or biology. And by having this opportunity, it's going to help me poke around a little bit more and not be distracted by having to get a job, so that I can, make sure that I'm choosing the right major for myself. Or, you might want to say something like, I've always been interested in astronomy, but I've never really used a telescope before. So I think maybe if I have this scholarship and I can connect to a faculty member, that maybe I can get access to a scholarship and see what that's really like, and explore that. And I would love to do that through this scholarship. So we want to hear things like that. So just a little bit beyond just the financial, tell us what it is what world or galaxy do you hope will open up to you as a result of this scholarship. So again, look where we're scoring the points and make sure you put your energy and your passion there. So application tips. Okay, so first of all, go ahead and go online and do a little bit of homework. For example, what are the NASA mission directorates? You will notice in the RFPs and on our website, there are so many hot links to the NASA mission directorates. That's so we give you easy access to start poking around something. So, it'd be a really great idea to say, well, I'm really interested about like astronaut health, but like maybe what about astronaut health is interested you? Is it like what happens with their eyes or ears? Is it something with bone density? Is it about how they maintain their muscular or skeletal structures? Or, is it chemistry? How do astronauts maintain the International Space Station? So we want you to kind of poke around the NASA mission directorates and see which area, whether it's, science or technology, see what area interests you, so that when you're responding to your essays, you're kind of tying it back to something that's NASA's doing. Luckily, NASA does just about everything. I think one of the things that a lot of our students come out of this with is being like, I had no idea all this came from NASA. So for example, a lot of people don't know that on your phone, your GPS, when you drive around and can navigate to a new restaurant or find something like that, technology originally came from NASA. So as you poke around, just poke around through your passions and interests, because again, you'll kind of need to know that as you respond to your essays. And remember, like, it's discovery, it's fun. So have some fun with it. Here's a really juicy one. So bear with me as I navigate out of this page, because this next tip is really important for you. So I'm going to walk you through the sample application, which you can actually access. So if my computer allows me to navigate away from this. Hi, everybody. Just bear with me. Escape. Come on. There we go. All right. So I'm going to show you how to navigate to where you're going to download the sample application. So bear with me here. And for those of you that have just joined, I see there's a few new names and faces. This session is being recorded, so feel free to like hide your video or mute or change your name. I just want to let you know that this session is being recorded. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to check the sample application. So here we go. Sorry about this navigation here. All right, I hope everybody can see my screen. So whether you're doing Pathways or Bridge, which we talked about the differences earlier, you'll go to our webpage or through the link that you've received in email, and you'll go to one of these pages. I'm just going to go ahead and pick Bridge for now because it's alphabetical and it's Bridge. So what you will see is basically everything you need to know, right? As well as the full RFP if you're somebody like me and sometimes likes to read things on paper. I will tell you that on the web pages, as opposed to the RFP, it does tell you where your points are going to be scored, which we just went over. So being on this call is very wise. But here's the thing that I wanted to show you. When you see this awesome apply here, that's where you're going to go to fill out your application. But here's what I wanted you to see. Right here, so this is where you'll create your login. Right here is a sample application, which you can cut or paste or download. But I wanted you to see this because I wanted you to get a feel for the fields that you will have to fill out, so that when you allot time to sit down and do this application, you kind of know what you're getting into. Now, keep in mind that once you create a login, you can go do this in bits and pieces and save it at any time. But I want to walk you through this so that you are more comfortable with our application system. So the types of fields that you have to fill in are, your name, your personal information, confirming that you are a U.S. citizen, because that's a requirement. Some educational information, where are you going to school? And again, it should be one of the ones that were on the list earlier, right? If you don't know your major or minor yet, that is fine. But it does help to know, again, for Bridge, that you're on the right track and that there is something that you want to research. So degree, academic standing, that's just what class you're in, sophomore, junior, senior. If you're somewhere in the middle, click where you currently are with regards to how many credits you have. If you're not sure, again, you have time to check with your university or an advisor. And your current GPA. Now, your current GPA, obviously you just started your semester, so your GPA means from your last fully completed semester. So in this case for Bridge, let's say you're now a junior, it would be spring semester for your sophomore year. So there you go. So, and then you can fill some of these in too. So for example, if you started out as a 2-year community college student and now you're at NCA&T, you can just tell us a little bit more about your history here. Here's a really super important one. I'm going to talk about this one a little bit more later, but just to let you know. So letter of recommendation, you're going to put the name, title, all of this contact information for the person that will be submitting on your behalf their letter of recommendation. So make sure that you have all of their contact information in here. And here's why that's really important. Once you fill this in and you submit your application, that person will get, right here, you'll see, they will get a notification that a letter of recommendation has been requested of them. And I'm going to get back to this soon, but just make sure that you know this person's contact information, and you're going to make sure that they want to know to look out for an email and that it doesn't go to junk mail to fill out your letter of recommendation. And I'll talk about that again in a few minutes. So here's your essays. One of the greatest tips that I could give you is I would strongly suggest taking this, cutting and pasting it, putting it into a Word document and working on your essays over time. Of course, you are more than welcome to freehand them in here, but we find that students who kind of cut and paste these, work on them, maybe have a friend or an academic advisor give you a second set of eyes that you can send to them as a Word document and, help a little bit, not do them for you, but help you a little bit. That gives you time without feeling like the pressure of making a mistake in the system, again, making sure things are spell checked and, doing all the right things. So you can cut and paste these essays in a Word document. And then when it's time to do the application, then cut and paste the text and put them here. You are able to upload tables, like for example, if there's some research you wanted to talk about, but you can't put in pictures or graphs or other things. It's just a limitation on this system, again, because these are meant to be essays for you to talk about yourself. So just be aware that these are essays. So again, if you have that text in another document, you can cut and paste them here rather than feel the pressure of like having to do it in a system. You will notice here, it's a little bit different than the guidance. I've put 400 words or less. In your application, it says 3. I just didn't want students to feel pressed if they had a lot to say and then their words got cut off. So you've got a little bit more wiggle room than 300. I don't want you to feel stressed that you're going to get, your text cut off. So I know it doesn't match, but it was intentional. Just don't want you to stress about your essays. So here's where you're going to put your essays in. Again, freehand or cut and paste from Word. Scroll. And then right here at the bottom, this is optional information at this time. NASA does require us to fill this in eventually. It is because again, this is a federal grant by our tax dollars, and they just want to keep track of who we're funding. We keep a lot of data for our demographics information to kind of look at the overall balance of the students that we're funding. Again, if you were here earlier on the webinar or call, you'll remember that here in North Carolina, we really want to make sure that our scholarships and fellowships that we're awarding are reflective of our community and our society here in the state of North Carolina. And so we keep track of this information confidentially, very confidentially. There's people like me who have to go through security, privacy training for federal data, but we want to really make sure that we're keeping track of demographics that are reflective of our state. So I know it says it's optional at this time. If you are awarded a scholarship or fellowship, we will have you fill that out. Again, just because it's a federal grant, and we just need to make sure that we're being fair and reflective. So this is a pretty good, and then of course you're going to certify that, everything that you've put in here is factual. So this is what your application is going to look like. That's where your essays are. So I don't want you to feel like, when you go to upload this, that it's coming out of nowhere. I kind of skipped over this, apologies. So when you upload your transcript, you'll be uploading it here. So you have the opportunity we talked about earlier to upload your transcript. So make sure, like, starting in the next couple of days, you contact either your academic institution or your prior high school or whatever is appropriate to whichever scholarship you're applying for, and start getting your transcript. And again, I'll open the floor up for questions either in the chat or on video or on the call later. But I wanted to give you guys a really good feel of what this application system really looked like. Hopefully that's helpful to you. Students in the past have said it's helpful. So just going back to this, all right, we talked about the sample application. We talked about the drafting your essays in Word. Okay, so this is a really important tip here. So I mentioned at the bottom to put in your letter of recommendation referral. So here's your really hot tip. You're going to want to contact that person now and let them know that that is coming. And this is for two reasons. If you let that person know this is coming now, they're going to have more time to either work with you to cultivate that letter, or you have time to cultivate that relationship a little bit more and seek guidance. And so the earlier you let that person know, the more time they will have to submit this letter on your behalf. Secondly, if you wait until 6 p.m. on Monday, October 11th, to submit your application, the letter of recommendation is due that Wednesday at 6 p.m. You are giving that person who's writing a letter to support you very little time to write that letter for you and get it uploaded to the system. And chances are that letter will maybe not be as thorough and robust as you would like. So the earlier you can contact that person and the earlier you get your application done, that also gives this person more time to get their letter done and uploaded into the system, if that makes sense. So those are some really important tips that I have to offer you. And there are some tips that we've gotten from past applicants, particularly successful applicants or applicants who may have made a mistake. So for example, not giving your letter of recommendation referral warning to look out for that email or let them know that that's coming. Because if that letter of recommendation is not included in your application, it will be considered incomplete and then we can't review it. So these kind of things are really important. And I also bring that to your attention because remember back here, that's like 20 points of your application. So you're going to want to take that letter and that relationship with that person like really carefully, because that's like a big wad of points to be scoring there. So those are some really great tips. I want to talk to you about the requirements of the scholarship. Frankly, just so you also know what you're getting into. So of course, you're getting for the pathways $3,000 or bridge $5,000. That's a lot of money. So in return, of course, there's some things we're going to ask of you. They are not hard. They are not complicated. Again, you should look at this as an exciting opportunity to explore more about yourself. And hopefully you'll have the time to do so because maybe this funding is in fact offsetting your need to get another job or something. So quickly to go over this, pathways. For both and STEM, for Bridge, for both opportunities, sometime in December, we're going to have a webinar with you where you're going to have the opportunity to chat with, learn from, hear from a NASA professional who maybe attended a university that you went to, maybe Fayetteville State or NC A&T, maybe Elizabeth City, maybe somebody from our network who's a researcher who now maybe works for NASA or the US National Lab on the ISS. You're going to get to hear from them about their pathway. What they studied, how they got there, what they're researching now. So right off the bat in November, you're going to get a chance to interface with a NASA professional virtually. For both opportunities, we are going to have you submit a NASA internship application. Again, this is just to familiarize yourself with the NASA internship application process. There is a 3.0 requirement for NASA interns. I know that this is a 2.8 for these scholarships, but again, it gives you the opportunity to like learn that internship process. And I would say if you've got a 3.0 and up and you apply for some things, like you never know. Again, it goes back to like, you never know until you actually throw your name out there. You may actually get selected, in which case you would come back to us and say, oh my God, Sandy, I got selected for this NASA internship. Can you help sponsor me to go to Goddard? And there's a good chance that we might do that for you. So we want you to submit this application because you never know. And you'll send that to us. You'll just take a screenshot of the fact that you've submitted your application, and then you will get there. There are links to it. I won't navigate away from this again right now, but we also have links on our website to NASA internships to show you like where to go. But that's something you should get started with almost like right away when you get your internship. And again, you never know. Now for STEM Bridge, you're getting $5,000. So we've got a little bit more here. So in your fall semester, or basically by the end of the year, by the end of December, we want you all to start already looking into these NASA mission directorates I told you about that there's like links everywhere in the RFP. And we want you to tell us a little bit more specifically which one you're interested in and which one you're gonna dive into. Is it science? Is it technology? So you're going to research that and be like, tell us, I was just blown away by this concept of the Artemis generation and putting the first female on the moon or going to Mars. Or maybe you'll say, I was just so amazed with the studies of the sun or the planet. So you're going to take a look at the mission directorates and you're going to identify by the end of the calendar year and send me an email which NASA directorate you've been most excited by and which one you think you want to dig a little bit deeper into. So pathways, you're going to have to do the same thing, but you're going to do that next semester. Okay. Next semester, like this is spring semester now, spring semester for pathways, you will notice that both are required to do a faculty or expert interview. So for example, I'm interested in astronomy. I've never really used a telescope. I'm going to go find a faculty member in astronomy and I'm going to go talk to them about like, what's it like working with telescopes? I've never done that before, so I want to interview somebody and I want to know what that's like. So as part of this experience, and all of this will be, you'll get to it soon, your final report, you're going to interview either a faculty member or even a professional, some expert that's doing what you're interested in doing, and learn more about how they got there. What is their job really like? What other pathways did they consider? So you're gonna have a chance, both of you, to do that. Now, what this does is helps you learn a little bit more about how somebody got there. It also helps you cultivate a relationship. So moving forward, if you need somebody to write a letter of recommendation for you, if you're looking for an advisor for a research project or a senior project or something like that moving forward, like you've either got somebody or you're learning how to cultivate a relationship with somebody. And so this step is really important to starting your network, into finding people who believe in you and can support your passions and help you take the next steps in your academic and career pathways. STEM Bridge, again, $5,000. So you're going a little bit deeper. So in the spring, early spring, I'm hoping, we're going to have a webinar for you. Okay. And so the purpose of Bridge is really to get you ready for your next step. For me, I would love for you to go on to then apply to like a North Carolina Space Grant undergraduate research scholarship, which is like $8,000. Some of you may go on to apply for other scholarships, or you may have a research proposal that you want to submit, maybe as part of like your senior thesis or like something that's going on. So we're going to have a spring webinar with you all to learn from different experts about like how to write a research plan or how to strengthen your proposal for like a future scholarship or internship or other opportunity. So we're going to teach you on this one a little bit more in depth. So like, let's say that you're that astronomy kid and you're just like, I loved that telescope. I'm so interested in what that faculty member did. Like, I really want to apply for a scholarship with NC Space Grant next year, so that like I know that I want to do this. So you're going to learn how to write that application, or you're going to learn how to write your research plan so that you can apply to a future scholarship or something like that. So that's really important. And then both of you, of course, are going to have a final report to submit. This is really short, like this is like shorter than your papers at school. So the final report for you pathway students, you're going to talk about what you learned with the professional. You're going to talk about which mission directorate interested you the most, and you're going to talk about what you learned from the person that you talked to. The Bridge students are going to talk a little bit about that as well, but really what we want this to be is we want you to submit to us like a practice research proposal or scholarship application or something like that. So you're going to submit to us like for feedback, working with, you know, this person or the person who helps you with your letter of recommendation. Like, we're going to help you put a really strong proposal or scholarship application together, and you get to do that like while being paid as part of this scholarship. That's a pretty mind-blowing opportunity to have this chance to help you apply for something to move forward and like get paid to do it. So I really hope you all take advantage of that. But again, I would be remiss if I didn't remind you guys of your requirements. So consider yourselves told. All right, internships. So again, we touched upon this briefly. There's a link. We want you to go poke around the internship system. I would suggest doing it now before like midterms and final exams and all of that stuff. You would be surprised how many internship opportunities there are out there with NASA. And we want you to learn about that now. Again, remember that these scholarships are an opportunity to explore you. We're not telling you to do anything prescriptive other than have fun exploring your interests and passions. And that includes poking around the NASA internship. And again, I'm going to go back to the you never know. And if you get one, we may fund you. So like, this is really exciting stuff. So poke around their systems, and here's the link. It's on our website. I won't beat that dead horse, but there you go. And so I did want to talk to you about other opportunities with Space Grant. Usually we release these during the spring semester. So for example, if you are submitting for a bridge scholarship, this is like maybe the next step on your journey. These are $8,000 scholarships to basically like research what you want. So you've talked to that faculty advisor, you've explored the mission directorates, you've learned how to like write a research plan or an application, like apply for this stuff. Like there's other steps. And even if you don't apply to our stuff, like there's tons of other scholarships out there. And hopefully by talking to those other experts and learning from people, like you'll know what else is out there and we will have gotten you ready. But these are typically due spring semester. That's why like we want you as part of your experience of your scholarship to know about these and then start preparing for them. And these are open to undergrads at any institution across the state of North Carolina, and grad research fellowships as well. If you're going to get your master's or your PhD, like let's say you're a bridge scholar and you're a senior and you're going on to, maybe you've graduated from Elizabeth City and then you're going to a grad school, maybe NC State, go Pack, you can apply for a fellowship. You never know, but this is your opportunity to do it. If you are considering becoming an educator, a teacher, either in classroom or maybe informal at a museum or somewhere else, we want to make you aware that there is a pre-service education scholarship. So if you're going on to study education, we've got scholarships for that too. These are typically open fall semester. So you would do your pathways or your bridge now, and then maybe next year go on to get a scholarship to become a teacher. And also, again, the team competition and experience awards, they're open right now. So let's say you go poke around and you learn that like robotics are amazing. Maybe you go, if you're at A&T, I know they have like an aerial robotics club. I know they're flying a lot of drones out there. Maybe you go join part of that team and then your team competes in some amazing NASA Challenger competition. So I wanted to let you know about all these other types of opportunities that you have. They are out there, whether or not you are a Pathways or Bridge Scholar. So these other things are out there for you. And I just want to make sure that you're aware of not only the MSI scholarships, but all these other great things that we do. This you'll notice as part of your application is optional, but strongly encouraged. On Friday, April 8th, we will be having the 2022 Space Symposium. It's a little bit early for us to tell you exactly who the speakers and what the agenda are, but this is your chance to like hear from alumni from our program who now like work at NASA or SpaceX or ULA or one of these major launch companies. Last year, our keynote speaker was astronaut Zena Cardman, a former scholar who's now an astronaut. So like the students got to hear from her. We pay your registration fee, so it's free. I don't know if it's virtual or in person this year. If it is going to be in person, your scholarship funds can be used to like pay for you to travel an overnight. But we will pay for your registration fees. But this is a chance for you to like learn about other different pathways and interact either virtually or in person with NASA and other space professionals, basically like-minded people. This is your chance to start networking. So we'll send you more information like in January when registration opens, but like go ahead and save the date for that now. This is like a super cool event and you get to meet more like NASA and other space people. And hopefully us face-to-face in person. And again, so if you want to learn a little bit more about Space Grant, we often post other opportunities, or we post obviously our own scholarships and fellowships and awards, but we're also constantly posting things that like scholarships or fellowships from other organizations or different competitions, or just some really interesting space news. You'll learn about our alumni. So make sure you add all of this stuff to your socials and just become part of our community, like listen, learn, and connect. So I'm going to go ahead and stop there, and I will, I'm going to turn off my video, and I'm going to get a chance to take any questions or comments, and I'm going to see what is floating out there in the chat. Hi, everybody. So I just want to let you know too that this picture in our background here was actually taken by a high altitude ballooning team out of Edgecombe Community College, who is eligible for this scholarship. So this picture, let me get out of the way. This cool picture was actually taken by our students. So, you know, if you do these things, you get to do awesome things like that. So let me see what's in the chat, and then otherwise you will be able to open up the chat or submit something to me by email. So are NC State students eligible? NC State is not eligible, although there are historically underrepresented students at NC State. It is not considered by NASA an MSI or an HBCU. So sadly, I know I sit at NC State too, but you can apply to the undergraduate research scholarships, and you can apply, or if you're a graduate student, to the graduate research fellowships will be open in January. So these are limited, but the other opportunities that Space Grant has are not. And I will tell you that like that application process and everything you just sat through and listened to is very similar. So once we release that in January, like you already know now, go like look at that sample application for the undergraduate research scholarships and like start doing that now. All right, head to class, go get smart. Is there, where's that other question? This one just got blocked. Is there an age limit? No, absolutely not. We know that folks go in and out of school as suits their lives at any time that's appropriate to you. So there is absolutely no age limit to be a scholar. Any other questions? You can video, you can chat. Also on the web page, you will find my email. I will tell you now, unfortunately, I'm going to be on extended medical leave, but my colleague, who is amazing and probably the nicest person I've ever met, Miss Jovi Cook, will be your point of contact over the next couple of weeks while I am out. She used to run, these are new, but she used to run the undergraduate scholarships and fellowships before I started on the team. So she is immensely knowledgeable. But if you do email me or Miss Cook, and you'll see her contact information, we're happy to help you with your applications, as are your faculty advisors or someone at your university. So I'll give it just another couple seconds to see if you have any questions. Don't be shy. The worst question is the one that you didn't ask. But again, if you're shy, I know some people are, you are welcome to just shoot me a quick email. All right, well, with that, I hope you got a lot out of this webinar today. If there's something I didn't address, do send me an email. I'm, always willing and able to get better myself. We always have to have a growth mindset and be willing to grow and change. We believe in that strongly here at North Carolina Space Grant. So let me know how I can make this better. In the meantime, grab a friend, have them apply too. You can become scholars together. I hope you apply. For Pathways, there are 10 scholarships on the line. For Bridge, there are 12. So if you put a really strong application in, there's a really good chance that you can earn a scholarship. And I'm really excited to work with you and have you become part of the Space Grant family. So I wish all of you the best of luck on your applications. Don't hesitate to reach out, whether this or something else with Space Grant. Come learn about NASA, come learn about space. We look forward again to having you as part of your Space Grant family. Take care. Good luck. Stay safe, everybody. Bye.